Hello, welcome to my little series about print and play board games. They have been a very good addition to my board game collection, especially when my wallet was empty. So what is print and play? Well, it's downloadable games made by inventors and put inside PDF files. Mostly, or some of them at least, are free, no charge, and some may cost like $4 or $5, 4 or 5 euros, 40-50 kronor. You never know. And I think it all started with war games. War games are depicting conflicts, mostly historical, from man's eternal fight to destroy one another. Examples are, of course, the American Civil War, World War II and Roman Empire. Usually these games were played through something called PBEM, play by email, and therefore it was very cheap to just print out the game. Everyone can do that and they can all follow along. Because that's what you do. You just print them out, put them together with whatever materials that is needed, steal the Monopoly dice, nobody's using them anyway, so why not? And start playing. I'll get back to the materials side later on. My own background in this, I think the first one I've ever encountered was something called Clay-o-rama. This must been back in 94 or 93 or something like that. Let's see if I can get it to you. It is a very silly game. Let's see what they say about it. What is Clay-o-rama? A Clay-o-rama is many things. It is a chance for friends to meet and have a good time. It can be serious, philosophical discussion on the meaning of modeling clay. It is means of artistic expression. It is a ritualistic gathering of Claydonians to watch the violent destruction of others of their species. But most of all, it's a silly game involving model clay miniature. Yes, that's how you do that. The rules state a lot of different things, and I was curious about this from the beginning, and I had a couple of friends who said, we are going to play this. What you need is, of course, clay. Let's say clay dough or Play-Doh or something like that, or you can make your own. And different colors are for different players. You can have as many players as you want, but you also need space to all these. And the measurement you're using is this. Between your index finger and your thumb. That's one step. There are attacks and, well, many things. Now, Play-Doh and other clay things often makes marks in the floor because you are on the floor, creeping around, rolling dice. And, well, you have to have some easy managed floor too. Make it easy to clean it up afterwards. Now, that official Clayarama came from a Dragon magazine, number 125, back in the days. And the inventor is David Sepp Cook. Now, he just put it in the Dragon magazine. He had no idea that it was going to be so big. But it became. And nowadays it's more or less, well, it's well known by the cultists, we who are doing the play things, but mostly not. I put the link down here in the description, so if you're interested in looking into it, but I must warn you. The next game, let's see if I can find it. The next game I found was something called Octarine. This was actually something that was used through PBEM, play by email, and it is the Discworld. And if you don't know anything about the Discworld, then you haven't read Sir Terry Pratchett's books, novels of the disk world. It is, as it says, a world as a disk. It is flat, more or less. There is some stuff. Now they have used the diplomacy rules on this. This is just a version of a diplomacy. Again, if you don't know what diplomacy is, it is a conflict game, but it is not it's not for those who agrees to everything, if I can say it like that. Perhaps that's not the nicest way to say it, but it is. So they have implemented the diplomacy rules into the disk world, and it's Discplomacy, of course. Now this is fun. I haven't tested it, but it is probably mostly fun. That said, there are several other stuff you can feel, but this was my start. Of course, there are other things. So I started to gather print and play files because I thought it was fun. But some of them, and some of my own as well, are actually copyrighted nowadays. When they stopped being in print, some of them became print and play. Dune, for instance, was a print and play version back in late 90s. And something called The Longest Day. Both of these will belong to Avalon Hill. But Avalon Hill has since been bought up by Hasbro, and license has been going out for Dune, and I guess even for the other one. And suddenly you can buy the game, and probably I will mostly prefer a boxed company game instead of just cutting in for the Dune game. Otherwise, that one is a bit. In this series, I'm going to show you something that I think is so interesting for some reason or other. There will be a lot of solo games, but there will be different other types of games as well. Family games, tile games, even 3D games, war games, dice games, maybe even solo war dice games. The connections are unlimited, and thanks to COVID, we have all been sitting inside and not talking to anyone, or at least not meeting anyone. So there has been a lot of development inside the solo PNP, but also in the rest of the PNP world. Many of these games, most of them, is actually being reviewed by others on YouTube, so I won't go into details. Some also have sort of moved from being a PNP and become a published game that you can buy. I'll let you know about it if I know if it is so. Back to materials. Well, you can actually need what you have at home. There is a whole bunch of good videos about this, how to make the games, how to especially make the cards, for instance. That is needed. Helpfully search and you may find. But what may you need? And note, this is not what you have to have. This is just, I'm just showing you some stuff. A printer, of course, and a fresh cartridge. That's good. You don't have to print everything in color, but some games looks very good if you do. Good glue of any kind. I have a lot. I usually have several. A pair of scissors. That's always nice. You can always use that. Perhaps some, I don't know, cereal boxes. Good carton. Could always be useful. And then I found some thicker paper. This is standard paper, and this is thicker paper. You can always almost hear the difference. And this paper is 80 grams per square something, and this is 200 grams. So it's like 150% thicker. Now this hard one is actually totally okay for my printers to say, well, we'll take it. And I usually do that for cards or for boards, or if I don't use, of course, the cereal box. That is also needed. Perhaps you also, talking of cards, perhaps you have these card sleeves from other Pokemon or other things. Always good, easy to put inside, and then you can easier shuffle it. Always fun. Let's say anything can be markers. I mean, you can use exactly whatever. Steal the houses from Monopoly and use them as markers. Take the tokens as well. You might need some. I found some pearls from IKEA for $1, $1 on the second-hand shop. I mean, I have no idea what I'm going to use it. And I also have glass marbles that I have no use of so far, but you never know. You might make it some China checkers or something like that. Or something in the need of. What else? Well, I went and bought myself a whole bag, 50 dice, different colors. That's always nice. I have used half of them, as you can probably see. It's nice to have dice that is among. These are wooden dice. You don't have to. And then inside the community, the print and play community, that talks about something called cubes. Now I have made my own. They bought them on Amazon or whatever, but I made some from wood that I thought could be fun. They are useful. They are useful, especially for some of these. You can use whatever you have at home. Let's glue some flat ice cream sticks together, for instance. Paint them later on with some acrylics. You also need stuff to store everything in. Tiny things in Ziploc. They are great. There are bigger ones. You can put some other stuff. I also use plastic. I have no idea what it's called in English, but I will use some of those for storing my rules and stuff. That's always fun. And if you can afford it, a laminator is gold. I got actually mine for free when I bought new cartridges for my printer. So you need that. That's the best buy this year, yes. And for laminated pages, you use, of course, dry eraser markers. They are splendid. You just write whatever you want and then you wipe it. You can even use your fingers to wipe. A spare card deck can always be of use. You never know. Perhaps even some crayons and stuff that might be, instead of printing it in color. These are things you can use. Yes, it may become a new hobby. But remember one thing, if you don't play the games, all work is more or less for nothing. If you make the game, make sure that you play it. Or the other way around. And perhaps my series can help you decide on games you want to make. So with that, I think it's time to move over to some of the games and start with number 1. Thank you for joining me so far, and goodbye.